Kira Zoval tried again to restart her ship's engines, but they only made a weak whining sound before going silent. She was stuck on this cold, barren moon called Vexus 7, and help was very far away. Her delicate crystalline skin reflected the dim light of the distant sun as she worked frantically at the control panel. Quillians like Kira rarely traveled this far into unknown space. They were a peaceful species who preferred the safety of their star systems. But Kira had always been different, always curious about what lay beyond the maps. Now that curiosity had led her into trouble. She checked her emergency beacon again. It was working, but the signal was weak. No Quillian ships were likely to pick it up out here. She would need to find another way to repair her ship. Kira's attention shifted to her scanner, which showed a strange energy reading coming from a nearby crater. It was unlike anything in her species database. She hesitated, weighing her options: stay with the ship and hope for rescue, or investigate the unusual signal that might offer some help. After a moment, she decided. Kira packed a small survival bag with water, emergency rations, and basic tools. She checked her personal shield. It was operating at half power, but it would have to do. Stepping out onto the moon's dusty surface, she locked her ship and began walking toward the crater, her footprints leaving a trail behind her. The journey took longer than expected. The moon's low gravity made walking awkward, and Kira had to carefully navigate around deep crevices that cut across her path. As she got closer to the energy source, her scanner beeped more rapidly. Whatever it was giving off significant power. What Kira didn't know was that her ship's crash had triggered silent alarms. Not just one, but two different species had detected her presence on Vexus 7. Far away, orbiting the gas giant that Vexus 7 circled, a human ship called Starward Bound picked up the faint distress signal from Kira's ship. Inside the ship's communication center, Officer Eric Powell was the first to notice it. "Captain," Eric called out, adjusting his headset. "I'm picking up a distress signal from Vexus 7. It's not human, and it's not in any of our Alliance databases." Captain Laura Holt walked over to Eric's station, her expression serious. She was a respected leader, known for making tough calls that usually turned out right. "Can you identify the source?" she asked, leaning over to look at his screen. "No, ma'am. But the pattern suggests it's from a smaller vessel, possibly a research ship or personal transport. Definitely not military." Eric had a special talent for reading communication patterns, even from unknown sources. The captain straightened up and thought for a moment. Vexus 7 was outside normal human patrol routes. Investigating would take them off course. "Any other ships responding to the signal?" she asked. "None that I can detect, Captain," Eric replied. After a brief silence, Captain Holt nodded. "Prepare a landing party. Standard first contact protocols. We'll check it out." "Captain, I'd like to volunteer for the landing party," Eric said quickly. "I might be able to establish communication if we find survivors." Laura studied him for a moment before agreeing. "Very well, Powell. Gear up and report to the shuttle bay in 20 minutes. As Eric hurried to prepare for the mission, another ship was approaching Vexus 7 from the opposite direction. This vessel was dark and predatory in design, moving silently through space without broadcasting any signals. Inside, Commander Grozak of the Zrax hunting party bared his sharp teeth in anticipation. His scaled skin tensed with excitement as he looked at the scan results. "A Quillian," he growled to his hunting team. "Alone and stranded. Perfect." The Zrax hunters checked their weapons and capture equipment. To them, Quillians were rare and valuable trophies. Their crystalline bodies made impressive displays in Zrax hunting lodges after the traditional cooking ritual. "Prepare for silent landing," Grozak ordered. "We will approach from the dark side of the moon." As Kira continued toward the mysterious energy source and the humans prepared their rescue mission, the Zrax hunters set their ship down quietly on the far side of Vexus 7. The hunt had begun. The Zrax hunting party moved swiftly across the moon's surface. Unlike Kira, who struggled with the low gravity. The Zrax were expert hunters who had tracked prey on hundreds of different worlds. Their powerful legs adapted quickly to the environment. Commander Grozak signaled for his team to spread out. There were 5 hunters in total, each carrying specialized equipment. One carried nets made of energy-dampening material. Another had cages that could hold even the strongest creatures. The third hunter carried the ceremonial cooking tools. Remember, Grozak told his team quietly, we want the Quillian alive and undamaged. Their crystal bodies crack easily under stress. The hunters nodded. They knew the traditions well. A damaged trophy was worthless. The cooking ritual required a perfect specimen, slowly heated over the special fire pit until the crystal body changed colors. Only then would the Zrax feast begin. The hunting party found a flat area protected by high rock walls. It was the perfect place for their base camp. 2 hunters began to dig the fire pit while the others set up the ceremonial space around it. They placed special herbs and spices in small piles around the edge of the pit. These would release strong smells when burned, smells that the Zrax believed would capture the spirit and knowledge of their prey. I will check the Quillian's trail, Grozak said. He climbed a nearby rock formation to get a better view of the moon's surface. Through his enhanced vision goggles, he could see Kira in the distance, walking slowly towards something in a crater. His mouth watered at the thought of the coming feast. Meanwhile, Kira had reached the edge of the crater. What she saw made her gasp. In the center of the crater was a strange object, half buried in the moon's dusty soil. It was clearly not natural. It had straight edges and smooth surfaces that reflected the starlight. It was giving off a soft blue glow and emitting the energy signal her scanner had detected. This is amazing, Kira whispered to herself. She carefully climbed down into the crater, taking readings with her scanner as she approached the object. It appeared to be very old, perhaps thousands of years, yet still active. As she got closer, the object's blue glow brightened, as if responding to her presence. Kira knelt beside it and gently brushed away some of the dust. There were markings on its surface, symbols she didn't recognize from any known language. I need to document this, she said, pulling out a small recording device from her bag. This discovery could be important, maybe even valuable enough to justify her risky journey out here. While Kira studied the mysterious object, the human shuttle from the Starward Bound entered Vexus 7's thin atmosphere. Inside, Eric Powell checked his equipment one last time. He had his translator device, emergency medical supplies, and a standard-issue stun pistol that he hoped he wouldn't need to use. Sitting across from him was Security Officer Samantha Blake. She was checking a more powerful weapon and monitoring a portable sensor array strapped to her wrist. Signals getting stronger, Samantha told Eric. Whoever's down there, they're still alive. The shuttle pilot's voice came over the intercom. We're picking up multiple heat signatures on the surface. Looks like our stranded visitor isn't alone anymore. Eric and Samantha exchanged concerned glances. This was supposed to be a simple rescue mission. If there were other aliens on the moon, the situation could be more complicated. Can you identify the other signatures? Eric asked. The pilot was quiet for a moment as she checked her instruments. Negative, but they're moving in a coordinated pattern, almost like they're hunting something. Captain Holt, who was leading the mission, stood up. Change of plans. We're setting down here, away from those other signatures. Powell, Blake, you two scout ahead toward our original target. The rest of us will secure the landing zone and be ready to extract quickly if needed. As the shuttle touched down on Vexus 7's surface, Grozak saw the flash of its engines from his observation point. He snarled in anger. Intruders, he growled into his communicator. Prepare for competition. The hunt has become more interesting. Eric and Samantha moved carefully across the moon's surface. Their spacesuits were designed to minimize noise and heat signatures. Each step kicked up small clouds of dust that settled slowly in the low gravity. The signal is coming from that crater, Eric said, pointing ahead. His helmet display showed a blinking dot where the distress beacon originated. Samantha checked her weapon again. And those other life forms are moving toward the same location. We need to hurry. They quickened their pace, staying low behind rock formations when possible. The landscape was strange and beautiful. Sharp shadows cast by distant stars. Rock formations twisted into unusual shapes by ancient geological forces. As they reached the edge of the crater, Eric spotted movement below. He motioned for Samantha to stop, and they both crouched behind a large boulder. "I see someone," Eric whispered. He adjusted the zoom on his helmet visor. "It's not human. Looks like some kind of crystalline structure to their body." Samantha peered over the boulder. That must be who sent the distress signal. They seemed to be examining something. Below them, Kira was completely focused on the artifact. She had uncovered more of it now, revealing what appeared to be a control panel with glowing symbols. As she touched certain symbols, they changed color, and the artifact hummed with energy. "We should approach carefully," Eric said. "First contact protocols. No sudden movements." Samantha nodded. "I'll keep an eye on those other signals." "They're getting closer." Eric stood slowly and began to descend into the crater, keeping his hands visible. Samantha stayed at the rim, her weapon ready but pointed away from Kira. When Kira heard the slight crunch of boots on moon dust, she spun around in alarm. Her crystalline body reflected the starlight, sending rainbow patterns across the crater walls. She reached for a small device at her belt, not a weapon, but a simple tool that could be used for defense if needed. Eric stopped and raised his hands higher. "We're not here to hurt you," he said, though he knew she probably couldn't understand him yet. He slowly reached for his translator device. Kira watched the strange being with a mixture of fear and curiosity. She had heard of humans before. They were relatively new to space travel compared to Quillians, but stories said they were surprisingly adaptable and generally peaceful. Eric activated his translator and spoke again. "My name is Eric Powell from the Earth vessel Starward Bound. We received your distress signal. Are you in need of assistance?" The translator converted his words into a series of tones and clicks that were the base language most spacefaring species understood. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough for basic communication. Kira seemed surprised to hear these sounds. She responded with her own series of tones, which Eric's translator converted back to English. "Yes, my ship is damaged. I am Kira Zobel, explorer from Quillia. Thank you for responding to my signal." Eric smiled behind his helmet and took another step forward. "We can help repair your ship or offer transport to a safe location." Just as Kira was about to respond, Samantha's urgent voice came through Eric's comm system. "Movement. 3 o'clock. They're moving fast." Eric turned to see dark shapes moving swiftly along the crater's edge. Their forms were reptilian, with powerful limbs and equipment strapped to their bodies. "Zrax hunters," Kira said, her translator making the words sound flat, but the fear was clear in her stance. "They hunt my kind. They cook us alive as trophies." Before Eric could respond, Samantha fired her weapon at one of the approaching figures. A bright energy beam cut through the darkness, striking the ground near the Zrax hunter. It was a warning shot, but it had an immediate effect. The hunters scattered, taking cover behind rocks. "We need to move now," Eric said urgently to Kira. "Our shuttle isn't far. Can you run?" Kira glanced at the artifact, clearly reluctant to leave it behind. "That thing is important?" Eric asked. "Very old, very powerful. Not for my people or yours. We'll have to come back for it. Right now, we need tow." Eric's words were cut short as something small and fast shot through the air, striking Samantha in the leg. She cried out and fell to one knee. "Paralytic dart," she grunted, already reaching for a medical injector in her suit pocket. "Go. I'll cover you. Get to the rendezvous point." Eric grabbed Kira's arm and pulled her away from the artifact. "Come on. We have to go now." More darts flew past them as they scrambled up the side of the crater. Samantha fired her weapon repeatedly, forcing the Zrax hunters to take cover. The paralytic agent was spreading through her system, but the counter-agent she had injected was slowing its progress. Head for the canyon network to the east, Samantha called through their comm system. I'll catch up when I can. Eric and Kira reached the top of the crater and ran. The moon's low gravity allowed them to make long, bounding leaps, but it also made it hard to change direction quickly. Behind them, they could hear the Zrax hunters giving chase. This way, Eric said, guiding Kira toward a series of narrow canyons that cut through the rocky landscape. Those canyons look too narrow for the Zrax. They're bigger than us. Kira was keeping pace with Eric, her crystalline body gleaming in the starlight. They will not give up easily, she warned. Quillions are valuable trophies to Zrax hunters. Why do they want you so badly? Eric asked as they entered the first canyon, its walls rising high on either side of them. My people's bodies, Kira explained between breaths. They cook us slowly. Our crystals change color with heat. They believe it gives them our knowledge and abilities. Eric looked horrified. That's barbaric. A loud roar echoed through the canyon. The Zrax were getting closer. We need to keep moving, Eric said. Is there anything else I should know about your species? Anything that might help us? Heat is very bad for us, Kira replied. It causes our crystal structure to crack. Cold is better. Water is good too. They continued through the winding canyons, taking turns when possible to throw off their pursuers. Eric tried to contact Captain Holt and the rest of the landing party, but the high canyon walls blocked their communication signals. We're on our own for now, he told Kira, but my captain will be looking for us. After running for what felt like hours, they stopped in a small cave to catch their breath. The cave was shallow, but hidden from the main canyon path. I think we lost them for now, Eric said, checking his scanner. But they're still out there, searching. Kira sat down on a rock, her crystalline hands trembling slightly. Thank you for helping me. Most species would not risk themselves for a stranger. Eric smiled. Humans have a habit of doing that. We're curious and sometimes too helpful for our own good. He checked his equipment. My scanner is showing a large heat source about 2 miles from here. Kira looked worried. That is their camp. They are preparing the cooking pit. The cooking pit. Yes, for their ritual. They heat special stones and herbs. The fire pit must reach the right temperature before they... She couldn't finish the sentence. Eric's face hardened. That's not going to happen. Not if I have anything to say about it. He peered out of the cave entrance. The landscape was silent and still. No sign of the hunters. We should keep moving, he said. Try to circle back to my landing party. They have weapons that can deal with the Zrax. As they prepared to leave their hiding place, Kira suddenly grabbed Eric's arm. Listen. A faint rustling sound came from outside the cave. Something was moving carefully, trying to be silent. Eric drew his stun pistol. Stay behind me, he whispered. The cave entrance darkened as a large shape appeared. Eric aimed his weapon, ready to fire. Eric. Kira. A familiar voice called softly. Samantha. Eric lowered his weapon as Samantha Blake stumbled into the cave. She was limping badly, and her face was pale. Found you, she said weakly. But the Zrax found me too. I led them away, but I don't think I lost them completely. She leaned against the cave wall. The counter-agent is wearing off. I can't feel my right leg anymore. Eric helped her sit down. How many are out there? I counted 4, Samantha said. Their leader is huge, scared off the others. The way he talks. They're setting up some kind of ritual site nearby. Kira nodded. The cooking pit. It will be ready soon. She looked at Eric with fear in her eyes. Once it is ready, they will hunt us with everything they have. Eric checked his weapon's power level and frowned. I'm down to 30% charge. Not enough to fight off 4 Zrax hunters. Samantha reached for her belt and pulled out a spare power cell. Here. I can't use my weapon effectively anyway. She handed it to Eric, wincing as she moved. We need a plan, Eric said as he replaced his weapon's power cell. We can't outrun them forever, especially with Samantha injured. Kira had been examining the walls of the cave. These rocks contain a high metal content. They might block scanners. That could be why they haven't found us yet. Eric nodded. Good thinking. But we can't stay here. We need to get back to the landing party. Samantha tried to stand but fell back down. You two should go without me. I'll just slow you down. No way, Eric said firmly. Humans don't leave people behind. Kira looked between the two humans with newfound respect. Her own people were peaceful, but they might not risk themselves for a stranger like this. I might have an idea, she said after a moment. The Zrax rely heavily on their heat sensors to track prey. My body naturally gives off more heat than yours because of my crystal structure. So they can track you more easily, Eric asked. Yes, but we could use that. If I go one way and you carry Samantha another way, they might follow me instead of you. Eric shook his head immediately. Absolutely not. We're not using you as bait. There must be another way, Samantha said. She pulled out her scanner. The shuttle landing site is here. She pointed to a blinking dot on the screen. If we can get a message to Captain Holt. Before they could make a plan, heavy footsteps sounded outside the cave. All three froze. I smell them, a deep growling voice said. The Quillian is here. And the humans. Kira's body tensed. Even in the dim light, Eric could see her crystalline skin had paled with fear. Another voice, deeper and more authoritative, responded. Spread out. Check every cave and crevice. I want them alive. Eric silently motioned for Kira and Samantha to move deeper into the cave. They pressed themselves against the back wall, hoping the shadows would hide them. Heavy breathing and the scrape of clawed feet came closer to their hiding place. A large reptilian head poked into the cave entrance. The Zrax hunter sniffed the air, its yellow eyes scanning the darkness. Eric held his breath. Beside him, he could feel Kira trembling. The hunter took another step into the cave. Suddenly, a distant explosion rocked the ground. The Zrax hunter jerked its head toward the sound. What was that? It growled. Commander Grozak, something is attacking our camp, another Zrax voice called from outside. The hunter at the cave entrance hesitated, looking back into the darkness one more time before rushing out to respond to the new threat. Eric waited several seconds before whispering, Someone's attacking their camp. This might be our chance. It must be Captain Holt, Samantha said with relief. She would have sent a search party when we didn't check in. They cautiously moved to the cave entrance. In the distance, they could see flashes of light and hear the sounds of energy weapons being fired. We need to move now, Eric said. He helped Samantha to her feet and supported her weight. Can you make it? Samantha nodded grimly. Just get me to the captain. They left the cave and headed away from the sounds of battle, hoping to circle around and reach the human landing party. The moon's uneven terrain made progress slow, especially with Samantha's injured leg. After walking for several minutes, they crested a small ridge and saw a horrifying sight in the valley below. The Zrax ritual site was now visible, a large pit filled with glowing hot stones, surrounded by strange symbols drawn in the dust. Nearby, several Zrax hunters were engaged in battle with human security officers. And in the middle of it all stood Commander Grozak, holding something that made Eric's blood run cold. He has some kind of control device, Kira whispered in fear. It looks like it came from the artifact in the crater. They watched as Grozak aimed the device at the human officers. A pulse of energy shot out, freezing the humans in place temporarily. The Zrax hunters were quick to take advantage, moving in to capture the immobilized humans. This is bad, Eric said. Really bad. That device wasn't meant for them to have. One of the captured humans was Captain Holt herself. The Zrax dragged her and two other officers toward their camp. What do we do now? Kira asked, her voice small and frightened. Eric watched the Zrax drag Captain Holt and the other humans toward their camp. He clenched his fists in frustration. Things had gone from bad to worse. "We need to rescue them," he said firmly. "But that control device makes it much more dangerous." Samantha checked her scanner again. "There are still 2 more officers from our landing party unaccounted for. They might be free." Kira pointed to a rocky outcrop about half a mile from the Zrax camp. "I see movement there. Could that be them?" Eric adjusted his helmet visor to zoom in. "Yes, that's Officer Dale and Officer Chen. They must have escaped the attack." "Can you contact them?" Kira asked. Eric tried his communicator, keeping the volume low. Powell to Dale. "Do you read me?" After a moment of static, a voice responded. "Dale here. Powell, is that you? We thought you were captured." "Negative. I'm with Zoval and Blake. Blake is injured. What's your status?" "We managed to escape when the Zrax used that strange weapon. Chen is working on something to counteract it. We salvaged equipment from the shuttle before they destroyed it." Eric's heart sank at the news about the shuttle. "The Zrax have Captain Holt and 2 others. They're preparing some kind of ritual cooking pit." "We know," Dale replied. "Chen thinks she can disrupt that weapon they're using, but we need a distraction to get close enough." Eric looked at Kira and Samantha, thinking quickly. "We might be able to help with that. Meet us at these coordinates." He sent their location data. "And hurry. I don't think the captain has much time." While they waited for Dale and Chen to reach them, Eric examined the Zrax camp through his visor. The aliens were busy securing their human captives. Captain Holt and the others were tied to posts near the glowing cooking pit. The heat was visibly rising from the stones. "They're heating the pit to the right temperature," Kira explained, her voice shaking. "When it's ready, they'll put me in first, then the humans. It's their tradition to cook the most valuable trophy first." Eric put a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "That's not going to happen. We're going to stop them." 20 minutes later, Dale and Chen arrived. Chen was carrying what looked like a modified communication device. "This should disrupt the signal from that control device," she explained. "But I need to get within 50 meters for it to work." "And we need to free the captain and the others," Dale added. "But how do we get close without being spotted?" Eric looked at Kira. "You said your people are vulnerable to heat, right? What about the Zrax? Do they have any weaknesses?" Kira thought for a moment. "They're cold-blooded. They don't do well in very cold environments. That's why they value the cooking ritual so much. The heat gives them energy." Chen nodded. "That's useful. We have some cold-generating packs in our emergency gear. We could use those." "I have an idea," Eric said. "But it's risky, and we'll all need to play our parts perfectly." He quickly outlined his plan. Dale and Chen would circle around to the far side of the camp with their signal disruptor. Samantha, despite her injury, would position herself on a ridge with her weapon to provide covering fire when needed. Eric and Kira would approach from the front, allowing themselves to be captured. "Are you crazy?" Samantha protested. "That's suicide." "Not if the timing is right," Eric insisted. "When they take us to the cooking pit, Chen activates the disruptor. That should disable Grozak's control device. Then you provide covering fire from the ridge, while Dale frees the captain and the others." "And what about you and Kira?" Dale asked. "You'll be right in the middle of them." Eric patted his weapon. "I'll have this hidden under my suit. Once the disruptor works, we'll have a few seconds of confusion to act." Kira looked at Eric with wide eyes. "You would risk your life like this? For me and your friends?" "That's what humans do," Eric said simply. "We don't leave people behind." He checked his weapon one last time. Everyone clear on the plan. They all nodded, though none of them looked completely confident. "Then let's move. We don't have much time." As the group split up to take their positions, Eric and Kira began walking toward the Zrax camp. His heart was pounding, but his face was determined. "Are you scared?" Kira asked quietly. "Terrified," Eric admitted. But sometimes being brave isn't about not feeling fear. It's about doing what's right despite being afraid. They walked on toward the glowing pit, where Commander Grozak was waiting. The Zrax spotted Eric and Kira when they were still 50 yards from the camp. Two hunters rushed out, weapons ready, their scaled bodies tense with excitement. "Stop there," one of them growled. Eric and Kira raised their hands slowly. The hunters approached cautiously, suspicious of their willing surrender. "We're tired of running," Eric said. "We give up." The Zrax grabbed them roughly and pushed them toward the camp. Eric felt the hunter take his visible weapon, but didn't notice the smaller one hidden under his suit. Part one of the plan was working. In the center of the camp, Commander Grozak was standing near the cooking pit. The stones inside were now glowing bright red with heat. Captain Holt and the other human prisoners watched as Eric and Kira were brought forward. "Powell, what are you doing?" Captain Holt asked, her face showing concern. Eric didn't answer her. He was focused on Grozak, who was examining them with gleaming yellow eyes. "The final prizes," Grozak said with satisfaction. "Now our hunt is complete." He held up the control device from the artifact, turning it in his clawed hand. "And with this, I will become the most celebrated hunt commander in Zrax history." Eric scanned the area discreetly. On a ridge behind the camp, he could just make out Samantha's position. To the east, Dale and Chen should be getting into position with their signal disruptor. He needed to keep Grozak talking. "What exactly is that device?" Eric asked, nodding toward the object in Grozak's hand. Grozak seemed pleased to have a chance to boast. "The ancients called it a neural disruptor. It can freeze the nervous system of any living creature temporarily." He pointed it at one of his own hunters, who immediately froze in place. "See, perfect control, perfect hunting tool." While Grozak was demonstrating, Eric noticed movement behind some rocks. Dale was in position. Now they just needed Chen to activate the disruptor. "And that's how you captured our friends?" Eric asked, stalling for more time. "Yes, your weapons are impressive for such a new species, but they are nothing compared to ancient technology." Grozak turned to look at Kira. "Now it is time for the ceremony to begin. The Quillian goes first, as tradition demands." Two hunters grabbed Kira and began dragging her toward the cooking pit. Her crystalline body reflected the red glow of the hot stones, already beginning to show stress fractures from the heat. Eric tensed, waiting for the signal. "Your friend will be next," Grozak told Eric. "You can watch how it is done." Kira struggled as the hunters lifted her above the pit. The heat was intense even from several feet away. Eric could see the pain in her eyes as her crystalline structure began to react to the temperature. "Now," Eric shouted. At that moment, Chen activated the signal disruptor. A high-pitched whine filled the air, and the control device in Grozak's hand sparked and went dark. The commander roared in anger and confusion. In the same instant, Eric pulled his hidden weapon and fired at the hunters holding Kira. They fell back, dropping her at the edge of the pit rather than in it. Samantha opened fire from the ridge, forcing the other Zrax to take cover. Dale rushed from his hiding place toward Captain Holt and the other prisoners, cutting their restraints with a laser tool. "The plan is working," Eric thought as he fired at another hunter. But then he saw Grozak recovering quickly, throwing aside the useless control device and pulling out a large, wicked-looking knife. "You will die for this deception," the Zrax commander roared. He charged at Eric with surprising speed. Eric tried to aim, but Grozak was too fast. The commander knocked the weapon from his hand and grabbed him by the throat, lifting him off the ground. "I will cook you myself," Grozak growled, his face inches from Eric's. Eric struggled to breathe as the Zrax's grip tightened. His vision began to darken at the edges. He could hear shouting and weapons fire all around, but it seemed distant now. Then suddenly, Grozak's grip loosened. The commander's eyes widened in surprise. He dropped Eric and stumbled backward, looking down at a crystalline shard protruding from his chest. Behind him stood Kira, her hand missing a piece of her crystalline structure, the same piece now embedded in Grozak's body. "No one threatens my friends," she said quietly as the commander fell to his knees. With Grozak down, the remaining Zrax hunters lost their courage. They fled into the darkness of the moon's landscape, leaving their wounded commander behind. Captain Holt and the freed officers quickly secured the camp. Eric sat on a rock, breathing heavily, his hand touching his bruised throat. Kira sat beside him, her crystalline body now missing a small chunk where she had broken off the piece to save him. "Thank you," Eric said simply. "You saved my life." Kira's translucent face showed a mixture of pain and pride. "You risked everything to save me from the cooking pit. My people have a saying. Shared danger creates the strongest bonds." Captain Holt approached them, her uniform dirty, but her posture still commanding. "Powell, Zoval, that was some quick thinking." "How's your injury, Zoval?" "It will heal," Kira said. "Our bodies can regrow small portions over time." Chen joined them, holding the now useless control device from the artifact. "This technology is unlike anything I've ever seen. It's definitely not Zrax in origin. It's from the artifact in the crater," Eric explained. "Kira found it before we met her." Captain Holt nodded thoughtfully. "We should investigate it before we leave. If there's more technology like this, we need to understand it." She looked at Kira. "Would you be willing to show us?" "Yes," Kira agreed. "But we should be careful. The artifact responded to my presence. It might contain more than just weapons." After treating their injuries and securing Grozak as a prisoner, the group made their way back to the crater. The artifact was still there, partially uncovered, its blue glow pulsing gently in the darkness. "It's beautiful," Captain Holt said as they approached it. Kira knelt beside the artifact and touched the symbols she had discovered earlier. "These markings are in a language I don't recognize, much older than any Quillian records." As her crystalline fingers traced the symbols, the artifact's blue glow intensified. Suddenly, a beam of light shot upward, and a three-dimensional star map appeared above them. "It's a map," Eric said in wonder. "Look at those points of light. They must be star systems." Captain Holt studied the map. "Some of these are in human space. Others are in regions we haven't explored yet." "Same for Quillians," Kira added. "We know some of these systems, but many are unknown to us." Chen had been scanning the artifact. "Captain, I'm detecting a data storage system. This thing might contain information about whoever built it." "Can we take it with us?" Captain Holt asked. "I think so," Chen replied. "It appears to be self-contained." With great care, they fully uncovered the artifact and prepared to transport it. While they worked, Eric and Kira stood apart from the others. "What will you do now?" Eric asked her. "Your ship is damaged." "Captain Holt offered me passage on your vessel," Kira said. "She mentioned something called a cultural exchange program. I would be the first Quillian to participate." Eric smiled. "That's great news. There's so much our people could learn from each other. And we need to understand this artifact together," Kira added. "My people have legends of ancient beings who traveled between galaxies, leaving behind pieces of their knowledge. This might be proof those legends are true." As the group prepared to leave Vexus 7, Eric looked back at the Zrax camp, now abandoned. The cooking pit that had almost been Kira's end was cold and dark. "You know," he said to Kira, "when humans talk about making new friends, we sometimes joke about breaking the ice. I think we skipped that and went straight to breaking Zrax traditions." Kira's crystalline face reflected the starlight as she laughed. "And breaking pieces of myself, too." She touched the spot where she had removed a crystal to save Eric, but it was worth it. "This will heal and become stronger." Captain Holt called to them. "Powell, Zoval, we're ready to go. The backup shuttle is on its way." As they walked together toward the landing site, Kira looked at the humans surrounding her, people who had risked their lives for a stranger from another world. "You humans are strange," she said to Eric. "Most species in the galaxy avoid danger. You run toward it, especially to help others. Eric shrugged. That's just who we are. Sometimes it gets us into trouble, but days like today, it's worth it. The shuttle appeared in the sky above them, its lights bright against the darkness of space, a promise of new beginnings and shared adventures to come.